95.5 GLO.
GLO rocks the Bears!
Speaking of women, I want to know if you guys watch the LFL at all, and what do you think about the ladies that play in the lingerie football league?
Spoken like a true DJ. The question is, do you guys watch the LFL, the Lingerie Football League? Hey, anybody want to talk lingerie, the Lingerie Football League, to watch it? Absolutely not. Lingerie Football League.
Well, I got a problem with that because I have a 12-year-old daughter, and for the last few years she's been trying to talk me into letting her put some shoulder pads on. So I don't like the lingerie.
Well, here, you know what, Mike? I'm going to point the guy out that said that right over there. So if you feel you got to hit him, we'll turn our backs on you. Okay. Anybody else? Lingerie Football Bowl? Lingerie Football League, that is. Mike? No? Okay. Another question. Eamon has a question for you. A very young Bears fan. All right, guys?
What do you guys think of Rex Ryan comparing the Jets to you guys?
What do you guys think of Rex Ryan comparing the Jets to the 85 Bears? Good question.
I think he was trying to compare himself to his father more than their defense and that defense. Because you know what? There is no comparison. You know why? Because they got beat.
Yes! Pranks against or pranks that you pulled?
Pranks on the fans. Whoever's calling up to the Chicago Bears office. Once a week, Walter would go up to the receptionist's desk at lunchtime and let her take a break, and he would answer the phones for an hour. You guys didn't know that, did you? Hello, this is Chicago Bears. How can I direct your call? Once a week at noon, that was Walter Payton.
Very nice. How about you, Morty? Any pranks played on you, or you play any pranks?
Usually, when you're in the shower, Walter would come and slap you as hard as he possibly could on your barrel. And he may not show up on the black guy's rear end, but the white guy's handprints on their rear end. And your rear end welts up, you know, I love it hurt, and it was special to look at.
Badge of honor, right?
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Trying to catch their breath, and they're on the sled. This M80 would go off during their period and rock their heads. And I remember him doing that a couple of times, and you see all the linemen get very, very angry about it. You look all the way down the other end of the field, and all the running backs would be laughing hysterically. So it was key that Walter placed himself at the other end of the field when this happened, and that really showed you what kind of a smart guy he was.
Hey, Steve, what do you think of the Tampa 2 defense? Should the Bears keep it, scrap it?
This is not the Tampa 2 defense the Bears are running. This is a defense that was innovated by Bud Carson with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You remember the steel curtain? They were the ones that innovated the Tampa 2, and they brought it to Tampa Bay after Bud Carson was running it in Pittsburgh. I just want to give you all a history lesson there. But anyway, it's antiquated in this league these days. The 46 defense that Buddy Ryan ran was an innovative thing because we were the first ones. It didn't matter how many guys we had to bring to get to the quarterback, we were going to get to him before he got to throw the ball. Because now that the passing game is like surgery, those quarterbacks are so good at it now because that's what they do in practice now. That they're so good at it, if you sit back in a cover two, the guy's going to surgically go down the field and dissect you. You better get to him and make him nervous in that pocket and get him throwing you interceptions and making mistakes before he can do that to you these days. Because that's an NFL game. You know, the franchise quarterback, back in the day, was hand the ball off, and if you had to, throw it. Now it's you throw the ball to get a lead to set up the run in the fourth quarter to run the clock out on the other team. Well, that means they have perfected that short passing game, which they call the West Coast offense, from Bill Walsh. And really it came from Otto Graham in Cleveland, who played in 11 straight championship games. You guys love this history lesson I'm giving you.
Yes.
You guys are laughing.
Filibuster here.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody?
Funniest player when you guys play.
Who was the funniest player?
You know, there was a guy out of Detroit named Bubba Baker. He also played on the Cardinals. He was a defensive lineman. And this guy was always joking. He'd block him. He'd say, "Come on, everybody, I got some kids. Can't be blocking me," and stuff like that. And he was just a fun guy, very athletic. But he really enjoyed playing. He really enjoyed talking little stuff too. So I
Yeah, I remember he was real funny my first Monday night game with the Bears on the team. Him and a defensive end named Dave Purefoy. Bob Abilene started the game. And before it was over, it looked like we had face surgery. So Dave Jiggins was, the sportscaster now. He was trying to block Bubba Baker. And I told you how Abilene looked. Well, they pulled Jiggins and put somebody else in there. Bubba Baker running by the sidelines looks at Neil Armstrong. It was him, not Dick, the coach. He goes, "Hey, Neil, put Jiggins back in."
Anybody else?
He was a real funny guy.
I remember that.
To tell the whole story, Steve, Bubba was injured that week prior to the game. And he came back out of the training room, suited up that weekend, and Jiggins was playing.
Injured by you. And still killing the quarterback.
Good question.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of different coaching styles, but Ditka and Lovey are almost polar opposites. So when I look at Ditka, who has so much emotion and he's so involved in the game, and then I look at Lovey, who seems almost unemotional during most games, which, is somewhat upsetting sometimes. I mean, do you think that his lack of emotion has an impact on the game?
Come on.
That's a good question. Does Lovey's lack of emotion, how does that equal up with Ditka's overabundance of emotion? And does it affect the team?
Well, I think number one, this generation of kids, you cannot be a type of coach that Ditka was and coach these players now. Because they will go in the shell or rebel or withdraw, whatever you want to call it. It's old school and new school.
That's the generation.
That's this generation.
You know, it's free agency.
You start yelling at them or going off on them. That's why Mike Singletary got fired. He didn't have anybody in that locker room to tell him to be quiet. Let them play and do whatever they're gonna do. So it's just the way it is.
You know Generation X. They debunked Dr. Spock how to raise your kids, and that's be your kid's friend. I've got a little 3-year-old girl. You know how I know he was wrong? Because he didn't have kids. How can you be your kid's friend when they look at you like they're a slave? That's what's wrong with these kids these days.
Bottom line, you can have a lot of different kind of styles of coaching, but you have to have some quality ears to hear what the coaches are saying. And I think back in our day, we had game plans, and everybody stuck with that plan and believed the plan would work. And today, the kids are, their ears are not open too wide. They're you can't be too rough on them. Like Otis said, I don't think Ditka style would work today. And the coaches have to handle the kids a little softer. And but the bottom line is, you need a diverse group of players in today's game. I know with our team, we had a group of guys in one area was praying. We had another group of guys that was sitting quiet, and then we had the group over there with McMichael in a circle where everybody was talking at once.
That was the hell raising.
But we needed all those guys to win. And I think today's guys are, they're too busy tweeting and whatever you call it, Twitter, whatever they're doing, and on the phone in between practices, and they're not really like communicating with each other.
About what kind of car they got,
Pretty much, and everybody's dating, the updated Halle Berrys, and but the bottom line is that the guys, they're just a little. You have to handle today's players a little different. As you saw with Singletary in San Francisco, he tried to take that Mike Ditka style, and he hurt a lot of feelings. So the players stopped playing. So Lovey's in a tough spot.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts on the coaching differences between Lovey and the coach Ditka? Guys, anything?
Because he orchestrated in the last 7 or 8 years. They put together a great team, but in free agency now, a lot of those guys has moved on.
You only get judged, and we're living proof of that about winning championships. And we all feel like we should have won more. We didn't. We were great in 85, 86 when we should have been back, but they did it, but they haven't done it the last 3 times they've been there. They went undefeated and they lost the playoff game. And you have to have goals, and our goal in 85 and 86 was to win the championship. We never really, I don't think we ever talked about going undefeated. That was just something that I don't remember. We talked about winning a championship. So ever you have to get to that point to win a championship, we did it that year. And as of recently, the Patriots are having a problem getting over that second step after they get through. They're the best regular season team probably the last 5 years. But only one team wins the last game, and that's the one you want to win.
Yes.
Well, you know what I call Belichick's genius? When he drafts Tom Brady in the 6th round to be a backup to Drew Bledsoe. What was his genius about realizing Tom Brady was a star? Drafted him to be a backup, did he? And when Drew Bledsoe got his insides ruptured, well, Tom Brady's been his quarterback ever since and won 3 Super Bowls, huh? Why didn't he know that before that happened? You know what? What Ditka and Lovey and every coach that wins got in common? Lucky as a 2-picker goat, brother.
Can we quote you?